Okay. Hi, everybody. This is the first session, and I'm glad you could make it. My name is Henny Jansen van Rensburg. I am a partner at a well-known consulting firm. Um, the idea of the sessions are that, first of all, they are for free. It's just me having an interest in um, I will share my screen now. It's just me having an interest in teaching coding much wider than my enterprise, and maybe it's a bit of a story of I can give a little bit back to the to everybody, um, and I'll do an introduction of myself just now. So, do you want to move that there? Hide it. So, who am I? I'm Henny Jansen van Rensburg. I'm an IT partner at a large consulting firm. I am also a chartered accountant. I've done quite a bit of programming, and I'm still doing quite a lot of programming. I've got quite a big client base. I am involved with quite a number of the major banks and insurance companies. I've helped some banks with banking licenses recently. I've also helped to review some complex systems and so. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I've got an interest in teaching coding, and I love coding. I've got a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, both keen little coders, and I've decided to spend more time actually teaching coding. And I got involved with some of the schools, just teaching coding and also how they can digitalize their classrooms. And in doing that, I want to actually take the opportunity to actually show some of those learnings and share the learnings with all of you. I am like I said, I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I'm not going to do your taxes for you. I am also a programmer, and I've worked as a programmer before. And I do like to do some artistic stuff as well. I've done quite a bit of philosophy and sociology as well. So I'm interested in everything. And you will find that when we do the training or the knowledge sharing, that I will concentrate on both right brain and left brain, as I think both of those skills are important. So not only the right brain skills, not only the left brain skills. Decode.me. I started this initiative because for me, digital is a way of living. We all are, in one way or another, we've been taught to code. I mean, when you drive on the highway or when you sit at a stop street, there is some coding all around you. The stop street itself, which is a sign. There's some input from other cars. The lines on the road, those are all coding. And it's by careful observation that we actually manage to execute the right tasks. So now, I mean, in our way of living, we have been doing this for years, ages, yet we make it out that IT and coding is a foreign language and it's hard to understand it. But that's not true. That's actually how we live. What I'm going to focus on quite a lot in the sessions, I want to focus on how we gather information, which is actually a scientific exercise. Then, how do we handle data? How do we process the data and perform calculations? How do we deal with variables? Variables is quite a key part of coding, and that is variables are also a key part of maths, but variables are a key part of almost any subject that I know. I can't think where variables would not be important. The next thing is the critical thinking stage, where we whatever the problem statement is, we need to plan it. We need to design, code, test, integrate, and we need to plan for reuse. In addition to that, we need to perform key actions and key results, which is our outcomes. So what if it does not work? Now, I mean, most kids are quite proud of themselves when they score 90%, but that means there's 10% not working. In the world of coding, it needs to work 100%. There's no in between. The result will just be wrong. So it's important for getting the right result that there is precision in the execution. Also, coding links to the different devices. So I'm going to also teach a little bit about the devices and what they do. What is important for us is that we're also able to express ourselves and our results. It's not only, nobody has the time to actually go through reams of results, reams of papers with results. What we want to do is express that in the simplest possible way. So, in doing that, it's quite an art. I don't know, but if you think about a mobile app these days, now to write a mobile app is an art of a different kind. What you would find is that a mobile app has got a lot of art in it. It's got a lot of visualization in it to guide you to A, do the right thing, B, understand the result. So there's a lot of artistic behavior that is needed. A lot of colors used, a lot of integration. So the idea is that I will focus both on left and right brain activities, and then the idea is also that we incorporate everything that's taught at school into the digital world. Science is still important, art is still important, geography is still important. All of those require some level of digital skill these days as well. So a lot of the examples that I will use will have some practical implication on what is taught in the classroom. Now, what is important? So where are we going? Where's the world going? So if you look at the mega trends, and I'm not going to give you a absolute iconic lesson here, but I think it's just important to keep some of this in mind. What you need to understand is that there will be a significant population growth in the next 30, 40 years. 7.7 billion people will go to 9.7 billion people. That means lots of interpersonal relationships. So we can't only be IT when we teach coding also. We also need to make sure that people can work in teams and they can actually work together and that they develop their social skills. It's important also to understand that a lot of information is gathered about you. The Internet of Things, at the moment, as we speak of there's about a 50-odd billion sensors out there gathering information about you. That is expected to go to about 1 trillion devices by 2050, gathering information. That information needs to be analyzed, needs to be understood, and the right or appropriate action needs to be assigned to it. So, in saying that, coding will become more accessible to everybody. I mean, if I look at the initiatives from Microsoft and from Azure, which is Amazon, and all the famous companies, technology companies out there, they are making coding more accessible to everybody. And it's like, for me, it's an everyday skill, like knowing a language, like English. You should be able, all jobs will require that at some stage, that you would have some level of digital skill, even if it's physical labor. Now, what you also will find is that the intense competition for talent would mean that creativity would be a differentiator. Left brain versus right brain. I can automate most things that an actuary can do and an accountant can do. I mean, as we speak at the moment, my consulting firm focuses quite a lot on automating the tasks that were meant for the special people in this world. And those are now replaced by artificial intelligence and calculations and so forth. So it's important that we develop all aspects of the kid, that he can actually handle the future a lot better, and he's ready for the future. So to future-proof him, you need both creativity and innovation in your armor. You also need to have coding as and all the sort of left brain activities developed, but it is now the future of the creator. All the tools are out there, and it's your ability to use those tools to innovate even more. And those would be the differentiating jobs of the future. Now suddenly being left brain is not as cool as being right brain as well. So if your kid can utilize left and right brain skills equally, or in harmony, or integrate those skills, they will have a good chance of actually going forward. So the consequences of climate change would require more sensors even, and more early warnings. We see the changes in weather patterns, and there's a lot of sensors out there. I've mentioned that. There's also a lot of sensors that's got to do with human behavior. There will be a later session on the Internet of Things, and where I would talk about how human behavior is tracked. And I mean, those are good general knowledge sessions that you can run with a class. It's important also to understand that where we were always used to process information in a batch sort of format, with time, that we've got time on our hands, what is happening these days is that with consumerism and with protection, the people demand real-time processing, and everybody wants instant gratification. So in doing that, only automation and coding can actually provide that type of solution that can deal with real-time. It's also important that when the machine makes the wrong decision, or when the machine needs to apply judgment, that there's still some human behavior in there. So we can't dehumanize by automation. We still need to be human, but utilize what we do well with the machines. I'm going to move forward. Why coding? I mean, we expect that it would be one of the top 10 jobs, and that the jobs that we wonder about has not yet been invented. We will actually have to move into these jobs. So you have to future-proof your kids with skills that is going to provide them with the right armor to actually either get a job or start a business. I prefer starting a business, but if you want to get a job, I mean, then you need to also armor the kids with the right sort of tools. Moving forward, now, where we were 10 years ago, we were teaching people to do, and to do accurately, to execute, and you got high marks for that. Then now we're into sort of an automation space, but we're going to go back to the place where creation will become more important than automating and doing. The machines can do those parts. And that where we would sit is in a lot more of an inventor, artistic, entrepreneurial area, where it's not about a job. It's not about doing something perfectly, because that the machine can do. It's about actually being able to interact with other people, to be human, but to utilize machines effectively in that process. So it's still important to make friends with tech, even if tech is there. Doing new things can't be automated yet. So we need to get to design some artificial intelligence that can build something from scratch from a blank piece of paper. Most probably that will be some time away. I don't want to say unlikely because everything these days is likely. But in the meantime, for the next 50 years, creativity is going to be everything. Everything will happen faster and at a large scale. And I think it's important to understand that we can turn to history to take advice. But what's more important is that we do not take that advice as the only thing that will work. I used to do this. My dad used to do this. My granddad used to do this. The world's changed. We need to adopt a world where we can create. We can be something different. Where history does not influence the future as much as it did in the past. So, and I mean, that's just a personal view. More integration would be needed. So we can't only study science. We can't only study maths. We can't only study art. We can, but the real thing is how we can combine all of these things together to create something new. And we found that out in industry as well, where banks become telcos, telcos become banks, insurance companies become technology companies, and so on and so on. It is important for the survival that you can act of everyone, and also to have a successful future, that you have the ability to combine a number of sciences to create something new. Now, I mean, it's important to make that dream real. The jobs of tomorrow will require a combination of all skills, and I've mentioned that. By 2025, we will lose over 5 million jobs through automation. But it would create about 10 million jobs or more just around combining various things with automation and creativity. The world creates more problems on a daily basis than what it can solve. So being an innovator and being a problem solver is actually quite an important thing. And we and I like the slogan at the bottom, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Now, the role that technology will play. Now, I mean, this slide, and I mean, I'll go into detail on all of these slides at later sessions, and this is just to give you an insight. So I'm going to focus quite a lot on sensors when we deal with microbit. And then even Scratch has got sensors. How do we deal with data handling? How do we deal with calculations and variables? How do we actually deal with code that are there for decision making and for actually giving you the right result that needs to execute actions? And then how do we visualize everything? I mean, and that's where the artistic part comes in. And all of that needs to be integrated into a single solution with an outcome. You may find that in your class, there could be kids that are stronger in some areas than other areas. And the whole idea of it is that if you do teams and as part of projects, you could actually integrate these results. And that's actually how real life works. What we do in school is we teach one kid to be everything. But in real life, when we're out there in industry, I mean, to build a new bank, for instance, what you need would be all of the skills, and that would sit in about 20 or 30 people that need to work closely together to actually come to that solution. So interpersonal skills will always be important. Now the future. I mean, and these are just some of the examples. Some of you know about drones, and I know most kids have played with drones. And if you look at space travel, and if you look at just biometrics and recognizing facial recognition, I mean, that is just pure maths. Then you get all these smart devices and most of those smart devices are also devices that actually utilize quite a lot of human behavior at the back. So there's a lot of social science in here. You get the self-drivable car that actually works on visualization and And there's a lot of sensors that are used. Now, I mean, that's our future, but yet we don't teach this at school. What we need to do is we need to get closer to reality. Now, the traditional concepts still apply. It will not change. Doesn't mean that you now suddenly need to throw away all your textbooks and everything else that you've done. But it is important that math, science, art, language, interpersonal skills, fine motoring skills, working in groups, all of those things come together with the digital focus. And then by utilizing and integrating the two, you are preparing a kid for the future that are able to do all of those key things that they love and combine that with the key things that are necessary. Now, I mean, what is available? I mean, I'll have a separate session on robotics and so on, but I'm going to focus mostly on the microbit technology, which then links with engineering, and there's the microcontrollers, and there's a lot of science and art in lots of science in there, even a little bit of music. Then the other thing is that there is some material published. I might not utilize all of it because it's quite expensive, but Q from Wonder Workshop and some of the other robots, I'll use some of them as examples. And there are many more other aids. I think the important part is that we start with the building blocks. The way that IT works is that you can study one programming language, but you can easily convert into another. So where do we start? We will start with the basics. And I normally start with maths, arts, and science. And then what we will do is we will go through the journey to actually understand the underlying technology, to understand the basic coding blocks and how it works. How do you run code? How do you troubleshoot? And until you get a result. And I mean, in doing that, and I've mentioned a lot of this, in doing that, you will then understand how to jump between technologies, between computer languages, and so forth. I think key things that I want to achieve for coding and teaching coding is that you're going to learn the basic programming structures and techniques. You're going to integrate with various coding routines, and those coding routines are applicable to most coding languages. You'll be able to communicate and interact and that's more than just a robot. I mean, even kids can interact. We can add some quizzes and so that you can use in the classroom. We can also learn to do various challenges which then can be done as a project. What is coding not? Coding is not some sumo fight or wrestling or two robots fighting against each other. That's nice and it's kind of fun, but that's not the idea. It's also not an expensive radio control car that races against another car. It will not necessarily improve your maths, but what it would do is give a visual understanding of key concepts that you would utilize in maths too. You will not get to write a program or a game in 1 week, but you will be able to get the building blocks for writing a game. If your calculations and measurements are not exactly right, it will be incorrect. That program or the robot would end up in the wrong spot. So it's quite important that it will almost force the kids to work a lot more accurately, apply a bit of diligence. But the nice part about it is that the outcome, let's say for instance the robot does what it wants, or the program does what it wants, is that there's gratification. So there's an incentive to work accurately. There's not only a teacher that says that you have to work accurately. So I think it's important to drop the jargon. I will not use a lot of jargon. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. It's also about ideas. It's about structuring a problem or how you approach a problem. It's you putting all the stuff that you learn, math, science, art, geography into life. It's about understanding accuracy, and I've talked about it. It's about accuracy of execution. It's about troubleshooting. It's about making mistakes, because a mistake is just another data point, and learning from those mistakes. So that is the sort of background of it. I'm going to schedule the sessions, and I guess, and I'm just flicking through the slides, but we're going to get there. Going through quite a lot of this in the next year, and you're welcome to copy the sessions. You're welcome to provide the links to other people. It's all for free, and it's just a little bit of my time. And I hope you guys have fun as much as I do. Thank you so much for the day.